File item number 47, AB 36. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 36 by Assemblymember Campos, enacting into local government.
Ms. Campos, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AB 36 is back for concurrence with Senate amendments. Senate amendments address the concerns raised in this House and those raised by sheriffs who are elected officials. As a result, county sheriffs have removed their opposition. This is a bipartisan measure that provides transparency, safety, and accountability. I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you, Ms. Campos. Seeing no discussion on the item, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 68, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item 48 is AB 142. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 142 by Assemblymember Bigelow and others, enacting relating to wild and scenic rivers.
Mr. Bigelow, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm presenting AB 142 to concur in the Senate amendments. The Mokelumne River's potential designation in the wild and scenic system has been a hot-button topic for the past 2 decades. I'm not here today to present a wild and scenic designation on the Mokelumne River, but it's the time has come for stakeholders to come together and provide a solution to end the bickering and offer a long-term solution along this river. The compromise between stakeholders in AB 142, which simply requests a study of the Mokelumne River by the Secretary of Natural Resources, which is to be completed and presented to the legislature by December 31st, 2017. The study shall include a clear recommendation on the suitability or non-suitability of an addition for the wild and scenic designation on the Mokelumne River. There's a cost-sharing arrangement in this legislation, which is approximately $250,000, which is to be shared by both parties. My constituents live there, as well as many of yours recreate there. The Mokelumne River is a water source that the locals enjoy. They just want a solution. I hope all of you will support AB 142 today and give them that opportunity to finally decide. Thank you. I urge and I vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bigelow. Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 66, noes 1. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item 49, AB 164. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 164 by Assemblymember Gomez, enacting relating to the payment of claims against the state, making appropriation therefore, declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Gomez, you may open.
Mr. Speaker and members, today I'm presenting AB 164 for concurrence. This is a claims bill to settle 2 Department of Justice settlements. I ask for your aye vote.
Which 2? Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Seeing no discussion, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 71, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. We are at file item 50, AB 181 by Ms. Bonilla. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 181 by Assemblymember Bonilla and others, enacting relating to business and professions.
Ms. Bonilla, you may open.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. AB 181 is back for concurrence. The amendments taken in the Senate require the Board of Barbering and Cosmetology to establish regulations for the issuance of a personal service permit, as was recommended in the Sunset Report, and makes other technical changes. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Bonilla. Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 63, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item 51, AB 192. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 192 by Assemblymember Travis Allen, enacting relating to license plates.
Mr. Allen, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Assembly Bill 192 is back on concurrence. The amendments in the Senate focus this bill on the problem that the pet lovers specially licensed plate has encountered. Through conversations with the sponsoring agency and the governor's office, we were able to shut up and dance and able to arrive at the fix contained in this bill. Please join me in supporting the pet lovers license plate, which has sold the required 7,500 plates, and this bill will then release the associated $800,000 to the charities that will help achieve the plate's goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 69, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item 52, AB 260. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 260 by Assemblymember Lopez and others enacting relating to foster care.
Ms. Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 260 is back from the Senate with technical amendments. This bill received strong participant support, and thank you, members. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 68, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item 53 is AB 353. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 353 by Assemblymember Lackey and others enact relating to fish, declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Lackey, you may
Chair
open.
and members, AB 353 is back for concurrence. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Lackey. I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise in favor of AB 353, but I do have some concerns about the process. I mean, the bill deals with Bouquet Canyon Creek and the unarmored three-spine stickleback fish, which was just ripe with all kinds of questions. But I'm really concerned about the process of this bill, and may I ask the author a question, please?
Without objection.
Mr. Lackey, is it true that in an attempt to avoid the traditional legislative hazing and giving your colleagues the opportunity to ask you questions on the floor, your first bill left the floor on consent, your second, and I think this is your third bill that actually on May 14th also left on consent. Are you trying to deny us the ability to ask you questions on the floor?
Mr. Lackey, you're under no obligation to answer that question right now.
You know, I appreciate having the opportunity to correct the record. One of the great things that I've experienced here on this floor is the fact that people are able to misquote facts. And this is a fine example of that very process. And I'd like everybody to know that, the procedural process here on this floor is to be respected as we engaged in debate yesterday as to exactly what that process was. And here we are once again deviating from that process in a hazing experience. And so I'd like to remind my colleague that we need to respect rules. That would be greatly appreciated.
On my own time?
Mr.
Well,
Jones?
I am impressed that Mr. Lackey almost burned up all of my time in his response. Mr. Speaker, permission to use a prop, please?
Without objection.
Thank you. Mr. Lackey, I don't know who's your daddy, but in honor of Bouquet Canyon Creek, somebody gave these to me to give to you. So I just want you to know that somebody likes you today. I urge an aye vote.
Mr. Wagner, you are recognized.
All right, members, let's talk process. Our good colleague here managed to slide several bills past us on consent, and when we take a look at what we're asked to vote for here on concurrence, we find out why. On concurrence, here are the Senate amendments. They're important. They're not simple chaptering out. They're not clarifying and technical in nature. They're not all the things we say. No, clarify the boundaries of the Bouquet Canyon Creek Restoration Project. The bill that got out of here on consent didn't do that. Clarify that LA County is able to undertake maintenance activities so that the riparian habitat improvements are maintained into the future within the time constraints set forward in any applicable permits. For some reason, that was missing from the original bill. Direct LA County to have a biologist on duty at the site when any activity could reasonably affect that aforementioned unarmored three-spine stickleback. Question of the author.
Without objection.
Why did you, on this bill, your first bill, let the other house do all the hard work?
Mr. Lackey.
Once again, my good colleague is misinformed as to the process of how this bill was formulated, and I appreciate his great concern about the other house, but there is a time and place to partner and respect their input, and that's exactly what we did. And so it is with great pride that I accept those amendments. There's only one amendment that I would like to work towards, but it didn't see the light of day. As you know, this bill particularly addresses the California Endangered Species Act, and I would like to have included the flat-top haircut, but it got overlooked.
Those amendments are out of order. Mr. Wagner.
On my own time, and I'd urge the author, if he's looking for amendments, to include protection of Daisy Dukes as well. I urge this body to respect the work of our Senate colleagues and concur in their amendments.
Mr. Alejo, this item is concur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A question for the author.
Without objection.
To my colleague, could you even describe what an unarmored three-spine stickleback even looks like?
To my colleague, the answer is it's a fish.
But can you describe what it looks like? Do you even know what one looks like?
Yeah, it's a swimming animal that has a fin and breathes through gills.
Well, with that members, on my own time, with that description, this species sounds as lovable as a Trump piñata.
Mr. Wilk, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in reluctant support of AB 353. First of all, I want to commend the author for your yeoman work on this effort. You brought all the stakeholders together. I'm so fortunate that this particular incident is 5 blocks outside of my district, so you had to do all the heavy lifting. But as we close here in this session, I just keep going back to my former colleague from Twin Peaks, the Honorable Tim Donnelly for governor, and he believes that the three-spine stickleback fish should be put on pizza, not preserved. So I'm going to give you my vote, but I kind of want to back my old colleague, but I'm going to give you the vote. But I do have a question for the author before I close.
Without objection.
Now, your campaign for state assembly, on all your signs it said, send another lackey to Sacramento. So I'd like to know what of your colleagues here you think are lackeys besides yourself.
Mr. Lackey, please be mindful of any points of personal privilege that may be invoked. You may answer the question.
I won't give him the privilege of invoking that particular piece, and I will just say that I'm very proud of my last name and the great work of this floor, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Levine, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I have a question of the author.
Without objection.
Yeah, thank you. To my colleague from the Antelope Valley, my constituents greatly admire work to protect species in wildlife, and I really admire your work on the unarmored three-spine stickleback. I have 2 constituents that would probably be grateful for you to consider also including other Pokemon characters like Pikachu. Would you consider that?
Mr. Lackey.
It's too late for amendments. Sorry about that.
Mr. Linder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have to really congratulate you for doing such a hard work for the unarmored three-spined stickleback fish, correct? And your duty in protecting these creatures is admirable. But question to the author?
Without objection.
Wouldn't it be easier to just armor the stickleback fish?
Mr. Lackey.
I think the Sierra Club would oppose that.
Mr. Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. First, I would really like to applaud my colleague and seatmate from Lancaster on this Palmdale. In Lancaster as well, right? I think I walked the streets of Lancaster. Yeah, exactly. Clearly. This is a huge issue of the three-spine stickleback fish, and I really appreciate you looking out for the wildlife in our state. And so I have a very simple question. Would you be open to expanding the list of fish that deserve protection to other fish that might have, relevance such as the Delta smelt?
Mr. Lackey.
No, to my colleague from some part of Orange County. I would just like to remind him that this bill has carefully studied the impacts of those fish who occupy this region, and the unarmored, three-spine stickleback is the fish that deserves the protection, and very proud of this legislation moving forward. So I would ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Lackey. With that, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 71, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 71, no 0 on the measure. Senate amendments are concurred in. We're going to pass temporarily on file item 54. Moving to file item 55. That's AB 726. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 726 by Assemblymember Nazarian and others, an act relating to vehicles.
Mr. Nazarian, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. AB 726 is back on concurrence, has enjoyed bipartisan support, and I ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 68, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item 56, AB 759. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 759 by Assemblymember Linder, an act relating to recreational vehicles.
Mr. Linder, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 759 is back from the Senate, where it took amendments to address technical cross-referencing issues and reserve a chaptering out conflict. Measure has received unanimous bipartisan support and is necessary to clarify the operations of the new Motor Vehicle Board. I respectfully ask for aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Linder. Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 71, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item 57 is AB 854. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 854 by Assemblymember Weber, an act relating to educational services, declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Dr. Weber, you may open.
Yes, Mr. Speaker and members, I bring back to you AB 854 for concurrence. This is the enacting legislation that would release $25.4 million has been allocated for programs to align the foster youth services with the local control funding formula. It has taken us a while to basically get the support of all of those who were there, making sure that there would be no one left behind. It has an urgency clause because we don't want children to be without resources and they want the bill implemented immediately. It's had no votes in our House or the other House as well as on committees, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote. There's 54 votes required to implement this.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 67, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 67, no 0 on the measure. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item number 58. That's AB 921. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 921 by Assemblymember Jones, an act relating to private investigators.
Mr. Jones, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am not rising for a point of order or to disagree with your ruling, but I am asking the members of the Assembly to agree with the Senate in some excellent amendments to my bill and ask for an aye vote in concurrence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Aye 67, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. File item 59 is AB 953. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 953 by Assemblymember Weber and others, an act relating to racial profiling.
Dr. Weber.
Yes, Mr. Speakers and members, we have AB 953, the Racial and Identity Profiling Act of 2015, back on concurrence. We know the history of what we've endured for the last year with regards to racial profiling and police misconduct. This bill is a reasonable bill that makes an effort to, for once, begin to collect data concerning racial profiling in the state. It has received a lot of support from a number of advocates. It will not only satisfy the void that we have, but it would modernize California's prohibition against profiling so that it aligns with the guidelines recently adopted by the Federal Department of Justice, the President's Task Force on 21st Policing. According to our LAO, this reform is necessary because California's current definition of racial profiling is over vague, and law enforcement agencies have resisted following it. Furthermore, pursuant to the recommendations by the Police Executive Reform and the Office of Community-Oriented Policing of the U.S. Department of Justice, AB 953 would create a Racial and Identity Profiling Advisory Board. We've taken the advice of some of you from, in terms of our amendments to make sure that that board is balanced and has a significant number of law enforcement as well as civil rights individuals and members of the community who are dealing with the issues of racial profiling. This reform measure would place California on a trajectory that improves the relationship of trust between law enforcement agencies and the communities that are sworn to protect. I would like to note that the bill has taken a substantial amount of amendments responding to the current concerns of law enforcement by significantly reducing the data point interest required to be collected. We've also eased the implementation of the data collection component of the bill by incorporating a phase-in, starting with the largest agency reporting by 2019 and the smallest by 2023. Members, on September 2nd, you may have witnessed an action where 1,000 individuals traveled here to the state from all over California. These were individuals who shared their anecdotes of hope in moving a proposal that would provide data to either dispute or complement their realities. Most recently, the Sacramento Bee and the LA Times editorials were in support of the bills, noting the importance of data collection and the role that it will play in us moving forward. Last week, Attorney General Harris launched the Open Justice System, which is a statewide data hub, which means the state now has a centralized location for localities to do input and share data. To date, that system will house use of force data. However, the AG has been clear that her intention is to expand its use. This alleviates early accounts that we don't have available to us the type of data hub needed to collect the data. 953 would improve law enforcement community relations by seeking to prevent the harmful and unjust practice of racial and identity profile and promote equal protection for all Californians. I respectfully ask for your concurrence on the Senate amendments.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Mr. Bonta, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise today as a co-author and strong supporter of AB 953, a bill that will give us reliable, quantifiable data to help address the problem of racial and identity profiling. Rather than have an understanding of the problem that is limited to anecdotal accounts and limited data from a few dozen law enforcement agencies, this bill will provide access to comprehensive, reliable data that can help drive and inform evidence-based solutions to the problems we see and experience in our communities across the state. In addition, the bill will create an advisory board bringing diverse representation and voices to the discussion, from civil rights activists to social scientists to victims of racial profiling to policing experts to law enforcement leaders and to legislators, to come together, investigate, and analyze profiling policies and practices and provide recommended solutions to the problem. Members, I recommend and ask for your aye vote on this measure.
Thank you, Mr. Bonta. Seeing no additional discussion or debate, Dr. Weber, you may close.
Yes, Mr. Speaker and members, as we have gone through much this year in terms of looking at things not only locally but nationally, I think all of us have come to the realization that we're at a critical point in the development in terms of racial profiling and policing in the state. We're at a point where we really need the data. We need the information. Our police officers who are doing a great job every day would welcome this because it would validate the fact that they too have served and served well. At the same time, it provides us with information where there may be problems that exist and gets us away from moving from just hearsay and what people believe is happening to move to a level where we know what's happening, can provide the support and the data that's essential. This is a critical piece in California moving forward for us to, for once, begin to really look at the material and not just rely upon what others have said, but actually look at it, have a task force of individuals who would then begin to structure programs and things that are essential for us to move forward. California cannot afford to be in the state that it is right now without adequate information, adequate programs that will move us forward as a state to an era where we will be proud not only of what we've done, and our children will walk the streets with a level of safety and understanding that when there are issues, we can address it. When there are programs that are going well, we can also share that. But without the data, we cannot. I respectfully ask for you on behalf of the people of California and those who are looking for us for leadership that you support AB 953 in concurrence.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 All members vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 41, noes 24. Senate amendments are concurred in.